Hey there everyone, Linda Murphy here again. Today I'd like to talk about tools for our empowerment toolbox, our empowerment toolkit. There's so many different tools that we can use to help ourselves grow and to go down our journey. And one of the things that I learned was time. I had realized I was giving away a lot of my time to other people, to other situations, and I wasn't being selfish in a way to keep that time for me. So I decided I was going to work on that so I could ultimately, at the end of every day, have some extra time that I can spend on me. So I had to figure out how to accrue minutes during the day to add up to some time at the end of the day for just me. Because I realized that I am really important. I need to spend time with myself. I need to nourish myself. And I was on this self-empowering journey and nothing was going to get in my way. So time was really important to me. I had young kids when I started on my cancer journey, and that's when I was learning so many things about myself. And with these young kids, as moms know, a lot of time is spent with your kids and all the things that revolve around kids. And they obviously would clean up their toys at the end of the day and this and that. And I would help them way back when I would help them clean up the toys and all that. And I said, no, I'm not going to help them anymore. They're going to do it on their own. And I'm going to go one better than that. After they clean up their toys and after they're in bed, I'm not going to go back and kind of realign some of those toys in the toy boxes and this and that. And part of this story involves perfectionism. And I also, when my kids were young, I was like neurotic about vacuuming my playroom every day because the kids are playing there all the time, and vacuuming my kitchen. They were kind of attached, and I didn't want any crumbs on the floor. I wanted everything to look neat, and of course I had to have all the dishes together and all the stuff. I put a lot of pressure on myself to get certain things done so I could have a good day the next day. But as a result of that, I was giving away so much of my time. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my perfectionism. Back in the day, everything in my house had to be a certain way. It would drive me crazy if it wasn't a certain way. And the expectations I had for myself were way too high for having young kids. And I did it, and I kept on doing it, and I was exhausted. I didn't have any of my time left at the end of the day. There's no time in my bank, because I was so exhausted from being that perfectionist mom, for being a mom of young kids, being a wife, running a household, doing all that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, I had to realign myself. So I just had the kids do what they needed to do with the toys, and that worked out fine. That I gave up that control that I was feeling that I had to go and kind of re-straighten up after them. I stopped vacuuming my kitchen and playroom on a daily basis. I did it maybe once a week. I'll even extend it into other things that I did on the perfectionist aspect. When we would have people over and when we would entertain, I would always put my better dishes out or my china in our dining room and all this. And I'd get really stressed when I was entertaining. And there was just so much of my time that was put into this. And on my new journey of figuring out who I was, I decided I'm not going to do this anymore. And one of the best suggestions that came down my pathway was from my husband's mother. She was a really relaxed entertainer, and I was not brought up that way. I was brought up that everything had to be in its place, and you had your china, and you entertained a certain way. Well, my mother-in-law was the complete opposite in the most beautiful way. And what she did for holidays, I thought was awesome. She would do season-appropriate paper plates. And the whole dinnerware thing was throwaway. And at first I was I want to say almost taken aback, because that's not how I was brought up and that's not how I was doing things. I always did everything the prim and proper way. And she did this in such a relaxed way. But the beauty of it was, we call her Grandma. My husband's mother, we always call her Grandma. Grandma was always available to be with us during the meal, before the meal, during the meal, after the meal. We were able to enjoy each other's company. And that was not so with the way that I did it, because I had such perfectionist ways. So I decided, in order to create time for myself, I was going to entertain that way also. And I ended up having so much fun with it. Whatever season it was, I got the season appropriate paper plates. It just, it was Christmas time, it was holiday season, Halloween. It ended up being a lot of fun. The whole dinnerware situation was throwaway. I accrued so much time as a result of that. Another thing that I used to do is obviously we all spent a lot of time doing chores around the house, and I decided I needed time. I needed to accrue some time. So my kids were quite young, but they were very capable of doing chores. And they always did some chores along the way, but I decided that they're going to do more chores than what they were doing. So every Saturday, I had a list waiting for them when they got up. They were assigned 5 chores per kid. I had 3 kids, so 15 chores cumulatively every weekend were getting done. And I would assign the chores more age appropriate. And it's just something I established because I'm not going to do this stuff for the household because I needed time. The other thing that I did was I wanted my time that I was building up to be at night because I love nighttime and relaxing and all that. So in order to do that, which worked out well for me, on weekends as well as summer vacations, I would wake up our kids 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm a very cheery person in the morning, and I'd go into each of their bedrooms, go, good morning, and I'd open their blinds and this and that, and I'd chit-chat and this and that, and the dagger eyes they probably gave me behind my back. But I decided that if I was going to get my time at night, they needed to be on a sleep schedule that fit into my needs, because I'm putting myself as a priority. So on weekends and summer vacation, the whole summer months, I woke them up 8 o'clock. I expected them out of their bedrooms at 8:30, and if not, I was a little cranky. And they, I'm sure, were not very happy, but they more or less got up around 8:30. And every Saturday morning, they had their chore list that they had to finish their chores before they did anything else. And every morning, more or less, in the summer, they had their chore lists. And 5 chores per kid. Throughout the summer, I got a lot done in the household that I didn't have to do. Now, this is where I had to give up my perfectionism. Obviously, they were not going to do the chores the way that I would do the chores, but I really got into a place of thankfulness and appreciation that they were helping me out. We all live in this household together, so let's all kick in and let's keep up the chore list so we're not overwhelmed with anything. So it worked out really well, and I started accruing a nice amount of minutes revolving around all this. So the tools that I am suggesting to you is to create some situation where you do increase your time for yourself. And for me, it worked out well, and I gave you just a few examples of how I gave up my perfectionism. Perfectionism was huge. What I do now, because I'm so used to not being a perfectionist, my house is how it is. My house is clean, but it might very well be cluttered. If people happen to come to my house or I've invited them over, I don't stress about it. It's just like, hey, this is my household. This is how it is. I have no stress around it at all. I know that people are going to accept me, accept my household. They're not even going to think twice, and I'm okay with that. I've given up that control, and that feels so good. And I'd like to think that the kids are okay at this point, that they did all those chores. I'd like to think that it made a difference in their life, hopefully in the positive. But it meant the world to me because I had to spend time with me. So every night, or most nights, this is the other thing that I did. 9 o'clock at night, I shut down the kitchen. And I would say, hey, the kitchen witch, me. The kitchen witch is here now. I'm shutting down the kitchen. No one's allowed in the kitchen. You guys, get up into your rooms and do whatever it is. The kitchen witch needs time to herself. And this is just how I did it. So I often would take a bubble bath, an Epsom salt bath. I'd play soft music. I would spend time, I love spending time upstairs in my bedroom, bathroom area and stuff. It was very, very soothing to me. It has a lot of good energy in it. At the time I had 4 cats. And my cats would gather around me, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing for me. My husband loved to watch TV at night. That was his time to relax. I don't like to watch TV. So I had that time to myself. And during that time that I have accrued, now I have a decent amount of time, I had a lot of time to think. And to me, when you think is when a lot of healing can be done. I love having that quiet time to myself. When I have that quiet time to myself, I often connect with God, the source, universe, whatever you want to say, and I have these wonderful conversations. And it's very, very soothing to me. And it's also very, very healing for me. And there's a few other tools I'd like to talk to you about when you have this time that you can implement them. So that'll be for another video. All right, until next time.